You don't choose what you watch. You just think you do. Every time you open your phone, something is already waiting for you. Not random, not accidental, designed to keep you there, longer than you planned. You tell yourself it's just a few minutes, but somehow what it never is. You scroll, pause, scroll again, and without noticing, your attention is being pulled, piece by piece, until you're not really deciding anymore. You're reacting. And the worst part? It feels normal. You wake up, and the first thing you reach for is your phone. Not because you need to, because it's automatic. Before your mind is even fully awake, you're already scrolling. Messages, videos, notifications, one after the other. You don't question it. You don't stop to think. It just happens, and it feels normal, like part of your routine, like something small, harmless. But what you don't notice is that your attention is already gone before your day even begins. You think it's just habit, but it's not. You didn't just start using your phone more, something started using you. Every scroll, every pause, every second you stay is being tracked, learned, optimized, not for you, for them. Because your attention isn't free, it's the product. And the longer you stay, the more valuable you become. So everything you see is designed to keep you there. Just a little longer. Just one more swipe. Just one more video. Until time disappears, and you don't even realize how long you've been gone. And the more you scroll and the harder it becomes to stop. Not because you're weak, because it was designed that way. Short videos, fast cuts, endless novelty. Your brain starts adapting. It craves more, faster, shorter, easier, until normal life starts to feel slow. Boring, empty. You sit down to focus and your mind drifts. You try to concentrate, and it feels heavy, like something is off. But nothing is wrong with you. Your brain just got used to a different speed. This isn't happening by accident. There are entire systems built around one goal, keeping you engaged as long as possible. Because the longer you stay, the more you see. And the more you see, the more you react. Click, scroll, watch, again, and again, and again. Until your time, your focus, your energy are no longer yours. They're being directed, quietly, without you noticing. And that's the part most people miss. It's not just stealing time, it's changing you. The way you think, the way you focus, the way you live. Because when your attention is constantly pulled outward, you lose the ability to stay with anything long enough to build depth. You get used to reacting instead of choosing, consuming instead of creating, escaping instead of facing your life. And slowly, you stop feeling in control. Not all at once, just little by little, until distraction stops feeling like a choice and starts feeling like who you are. And here's where it gets harder to ignore, because at some point, you've probably tried to stop. You told yourself just a few minutes. I'll put it down after this. One more, then I'm done. But it doesn't happen. Not the way you expect, because the moment you try to stop, something pulls you back. Not physically, mentally. A small urge, a subtle tension, like you're missing something, like you need to check. And before you realize it, you're back. Scrolling, watching, losing track again. And it feels like a lack of discipline. But it's not, it's conditioning. Your brain isn't failing, it's adapting. Every time you scroll, your brain gets a small reward, something new, something different, something easy, and it learns fast, faster than you think. It starts expecting that level of stimulation all the time. So when you try to do something slower, something that requires effort, your mind resists. Not because it's broken, because it was trained for something else, something faster, something easier, something constant. And now, anything that doesn't match that speed feels wrong. And this is where it starts showing up. Not just on your phone, but everywhere. You sit down to work and when you can't stay focused, you open a task and switch after a few minutes. You try to read and your mind drifts. You try to think and it feels heavy, like something is missing, like you can't stay with anything long enough. And it's frustrating because you know you're capable of more. You've felt it before, but now it's harder to access, not because you lost it, but because your attention is constantly being pulled away. And at some point, you start to feel it, not clearly, but in small moments, when you try to sit still and you can't, when there's silence and it feels uncomfortable, when you reach for your phone without even thinking, again and again and again. You don't notice it happening until you stop for a second and realize you don't feel in control. Not fully, not like before. And that's when it hits. This isn't just distraction, it's dependence. And the cost is bigger than it looks, because it's not just time, it's what you could have done with that time. The things you didn't start, the things you didn't finish, the ideas you never followed, the focus you never built, because your attention never stayed long enough, and over time that adds up. Days, weeks, months spent reacting instead of building something real, something that actually matters. And the hardest part is, you don't notice it happening, not right away. It feels small, harmless, just a few minutes, until you look back and realize how much of your life was spent somewhere else. And maybe you felt this before, that strange moment when you close an app and don't know what to do next. You just sit there for a second, maybe two, and it feels empty, like your mind is waiting for something to happen, for something to appear, for something to grab your attention again. And when it doesn't, you reach for your phone, not because you want to, because you don't know what else to do. And that silence starts to feel uncomfortable. So what do? Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Now you start noticing, that's it. You notice when you reach for your phone without thinking. You notice when silence feels uncomfortable. You notice when your attention drifts for no reason. Because that's where it begins, not with control, not with discipline, with awareness, seeing it as it happens, without running away from it, without immediately escaping it, just noticing and staying there for a few seconds longer than you're used to. Because the moment you see it, you can't unsee it, that automatic movement, that constant need for stimulation, that urge to escape. Every time things slow down, and at first, it feels small, almost irrelevant, but it's not. Because every time you notice it, you create a gap, a small space between the impulse and the action. And inside that space, something different can happen. A choice, a real one. And that's where everything starts to change. Not outside, inside. In the moments most people ignore, the quiet ones, the uncomfortable ones, the ones where nothing is happening, and you feel the urge to escape. Because that's the moment you've been avoiding. Not the noise, the silence, and if you can stay there even for a little longer, you start taking your attention back, piece by piece, moment by moment. Not perfectly, but intentionally. And that's the difference between being controlled and finally being in control. Most people will watch this to understand it and go right back to the same patterns. Not because they want to, because it's easier, because it's familiar, because changing this means facing something most people avoid, themselves, with no noise, no distraction, no escape, just you and your own mind. And that's uncomfortable. But that's where clarity lives. That's where control begins. And that's the part almost nobody is willing to stay in. But if you are, even for a few minutes a day, everything starts to shift. Because in the end, It was never about your phone or the apps or the algorithm. It was about your attention and where you choose to place it.